Dempsey and Holt Marketing sat in the heart of Atlanta. Polished glass, espresso machines, bean bags in the break room, and words like innovation and disruption sprayed across every surface. But beneath the aesthetic lay an unspoken rulebook. Be white, be loud, be like them. Jamal was none of that. He was quiet, analytical, sharp. A top graduate from Howard University, known for turning low-budget campaigns into viral hits. But the praise never came. Only polite nods, stolen credit, and worst of all, isolation. After 3 months of microaggressions, jokes about his voice, and endless gaslighting, Jamal was called into Martin's office. Martin didn't bother pretending. Jamal, you're talented, sure, but this team needs someone more dynamic, more approachable, someone who fits our company culture. Culture, Jamal thought. He'd been early every day, stayed late every night, made their Q3 campaign outperform national averages. But none of that mattered, because Martin didn't want results. He wanted compliance. He wanted someone who didn't make the others feel uncomfortable just for existing. That night, Jamal sat in his car in the parking lot, eyes red, hands gripping the steering wheel. All he could think about was how hard his mother had worked, 2 jobs, day and night, so he could have a future. And now, a cardboard box was all he had to show for it. He dialed her. "Ma, they let me go." There was silence. Then her voice, soft, calm, and calculated. "What did they say?" "Said I didn't fit the culture." Another pause. Then, "Baby, wipe your face. You hear me? Get some sleep. And send me the name of that company." Most people didn't know her name, but in certain circles, Cassandra Taylor was a storm dressed in pearls. She started her first business at 29, a logistics company that dominated East Coast freight lines by the time she was 40. By 52, she had investments in tech, media, and a little-known private equity firm that specialized in corporate turnarounds. Her motto, "Buy what they think you can't afford, then flip the rules." When she saw Jamal broken for the first time in his life, she didn't cry. She started making calls. A week later, Martin Dempsey was called into an emergency board meeting. The company was in trouble. Apparently, one of their biggest investors had just backed out, and a mysterious private equity group had purchased a controlling stake in Dempsey and Holt overnight. Martin showed up smug, assuming he could charm or threaten his way out. But when the door opened, Cassandra Taylor walked in, pearl necklace, burgundy heels, and fire in her eyes. Martin stammered, "Can I help you?" She smiled. "No, but I can help you pack." The room fell silent. Cassandra sat at the head of the boardroom table like she owned the oxygen in it, because now she did. Effective immediately, I'm assuming full operational control of this company. Mr. Dempsey, your services are no longer required. We'll send your things. Martin's mouth opened, but no sound came. He tried to protest, to call it unfair, but Cassandra pulled out a folder. Inside, HR complaints, screenshots, emails. Jamal's entire case, documented, time-stamped, undeniable. "You fired my son for not fitting in. But he was never the problem. You were." That afternoon, Jamal walked back into the same building he'd been forced to leave, only this time, people stood up when he entered. He wasn't holding a box. He was holding a clipboard, reviewing staff, leading meetings. And in every room he entered, the tone shifted. Respect, humility, real leadership. Later that day, Cassandra joined him on the roof overlooking the Atlanta skyline. "Ma, why'd you do all this?" She turned, eyes full of fire and grace. "Because when the door won't open for you, baby, you don't shrink yourself. You buy the building. Sometimes the world will tell you that you don't belong, that your voice is too different, your hair is too loud, your skin too bold. But here's the truth. Your brilliance doesn't need permission. Your worth isn't determined by how well you fit into broken spaces. And sometimes, justice isn't just poetic, it's expensive. And it shows up with receipts. But just as the Taylors settled into their victory, let us know where you are watching from in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, like and turn on your notification bell so that you can be the first to enjoy our amazing stories. Jamal received an anonymous message. A forwarded email chain from inside the company. One marked, Urgent, Internal Crisis. The subject line, What they don't know about the merger could destroy everything. Jamal stared at the email on his laptop. It came from an anonymous source. No name. No subject. Just 2 words in bold. Read this. The forwarded chain attached revealed a back-channel thread between Martin Dempsey and the former CFO. The timestamp? Just 1 week before Jamal was fired. It wasn't just casual racism anymore. This was something bigger. Something planned. The email ended with a chilling sentence. They knew who your mother was before they fired you. Jamal took the email to Cassandra. She didn't flinch. Of course they knew, she said flatly. You think a man like Martin makes decisions without checking the last name of his employees? They were trying to send a message. To me. Jamal felt sick. But why? Cassandra's eyes narrowed. Because this company wasn't just some marketing firm. It was a front. A clean face for some dirty contracts they thought no one would notice. She pulled out a file from her briefcase. Inside, a list of shadow clients, off-books deals, and ghost campaigns, all linked to shady political lobbying groups. 3 months ago, Cassandra's firm had quietly outbid one of Martin's biggest investors on a city contract for clean energy promotion. It was supposed to be the company's next big move: green marketing, government dollars, and massive prestige. But Cassandra's offer was cleaner, cheaper, better. And Martin lost everything. He never forgot the name Taylor. And when Jamal walked into the company for that interview, Martin saw more than a resume. He saw a last name that threatened his entire empire. Jamal's chest tightened as Cassandra laid it all out. They never intended to keep you, son. You were bait. They wanted to humiliate you, to send a message to me. So what now? Jamal asked. She closed the folder. Now, we go deeper. We're not just taking over, we're cleaning house. But just as Cassandra prepared to meet with the legal team, Jamal's phone buzzed again. It was a video. The footage was grainy but clear enough. It showed a familiar face, Sasha, the company's head of HR, talking to another executive in a stairwell. Her voice was low, urgent. We can't let this leak. If the Taylors find out about the 2019 payout, it's over. Martin promised it was buried. No paper trail. You don't get it. Cassandra doesn't play like the rest of them. If she finds out, we're done. The video cut out. Jamal froze. What payout? What happened in 2019? Cassandra looked like she'd been hit in the stomach. She walked over to a cabinet in her office and pulled out an old manila envelope. I was hoping this day would never come, she said softly. But if this is what I think it is, it goes way beyond us. Inside the envelope was a non-disclosure agreement, signed by a woman named Danielle Price. The name sent a chill through Jamal. He remembered her. She used to work in design. Bright, funny, and always had everyone laughing. Until she suddenly disappeared. No goodbye. No explanation. The NDA, dated February 2019. The reason: hostile work environment, emotional trauma, wrongful termination. The payout: $250,000. Cassandra clenched her jaw. They paid her to be silent and scrubbed the files. But if we can find Danielle, if she talks. Jamal nodded, piecing it together. Then we can burn it all down. Over the next 24 hours, Jamal scoured social media, private forums, and even old Slack messages trying to find Danielle Price. Most leads went cold. Her Instagram, deleted. LinkedIn, inactive. Her last known address? Vacant. But then, a message popped into his DMs from an unverified account. Stop looking for her. You're putting her in danger. Attached, a photo of Jamal walking out of a coffee shop that morning. You have no idea what you're playing with. Jamal showed the message to Cassandra. She stared at the photo. They're watching us, he said. They've been watching the whole time. For the first time, Cassandra's voice wavered. This isn't just about you anymore. Or even me. She held up the folder. This is about every black employee they ever silenced. Every voice they buried with payouts, threats, and NDAs. This isn't a business fight. She looked at her son, eyes glistening. This is war. But before either of them could speak again, the office lights flickered. Then, total blackout. The emergency sirens blared, and a voice echoed through the building's intercom. Attention! Security breach. Evacuate immediately. The sirens screamed through the office. Red emergency lights strobed along the walls. Jamal grabbed Cassandra's hand as the PA system repeated the words. Security breach. Evacuate immediately. But Cassandra didn't move. She knew this wasn't a random emergency. They're trying to scare us, she whispered. This is Martin. But fear wasn't going to stop them. Not anymore. As Cassandra and Jamal moved through the stairwell, they weren't alone. A young receptionist named Amber, the only other black employee Jamal remembered from his time there, was standing frozen outside the break room. She looked terrified. I saw someone messing with the server room, she said, shaking. It wasn't security. It was him. Nate, Martin's assistant. Jamal's stomach dropped. If Nate had access to the servers, he could be wiping files, erasing records. Maybe even that 2019 NDA. They rushed down the stairs, Cassandra gripping the folder tight to her chest. But when they reached the ground floor, something stopped them cold. 2 private security guards blocked the exit. Building's locked down, one said. No one leaves. Cassandra stepped forward. Do you know who I am? We do. That's why no one leaves. They were forced back upstairs. But Cassandra didn't panic. She pulled Jamal into a side hallway and knocked on an unmarked door. Inside was an older man. Gray beard, small office, paper files everywhere. Larry, she said, I need you. Jamal blinked. He remembered Larry from the mailroom. Quiet, moved slow. No one paid him any mind. But Cassandra knew better. Larry's been here 27 years. And unlike Martin's crew, he keeps receipts. Larry opened a dusty file cabinet and pulled out a small hard drive. Backed up the network every Friday, just in case. Whole company archive. Jamal exhaled. Relief. Oh. Until Larry's voice went flat. But you gotta be careful. Martin's not just trying to cover his tracks. He's trying to protect something much darker. Back in Cassandra's private office, the hard drive came alive. Jamal clicked through files until he found a folder marked Terminated Employees, 2017 to 2021. Inside were complaint letters, HR reports, even internal messages. It was all there. A black female analyst fired after reporting a manager for using racial slurs. A Latino intern demoted after asking for holiday time to visit his sick mother. An Asian American designer forced to train her white replacement before being let go. Dozens of cases. All buried. Jamal's voice trembled. They destroyed lives. Quietly. Systematically. Cassandra looked away, her jaw tight. And no one ever listened. That night, as the sun set behind the city skyline, Cassandra's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. Just one word. Meet. Attached was a pin location. It was her. Danielle. She wanted to talk. Cassandra turned to Jamal. We can't go alone. They're watching. They called an Uncle Ray, Cassandra's brother, a retired NYPD detective turned private investigator. He agreed to shadow them from a distance. At the cafe, Danielle looked thinner, older, but her eyes burned with a fire that hadn't dimmed. "I've been scared for years," she said. "But when I heard what they did to you, Jamal, I couldn't stay quiet anymore." She handed Cassandra a flash drive. "It's everything. The emails, the threats, even the night they forced me to sign that NDA. But if I talk publicly," Danielle added, "they'll ruin me." Cassandra took her hand. "Not this time. You're not alone anymore." The next morning, Cassandra called for a surprise board meeting. She walked into the room, not as a guest, but as the new majority shareholder, flanked by her attorneys and holding Danielle's flash drive like a grenade. Martin Dempsey smirked. "You think anyone here's going to believe your little show?" But Cassandra didn't flinch. "This isn't theater. This is accountability." She played Danielle's video confession on the screen. One by one, board members looked away. Ashamed, guilty, or worse, complicit. Cassandra turned to Martin. "You used your position to build a culture of silence. A club where people like my son never stood a chance. And now it ends." Just as Cassandra prepared to call for Martin's removal, the company's general counsel burst into the boardroom, face pale. "Cassandra, you need to see this." He handed her a folder. She flipped through the pages, each one worse than the last. Hidden shell companies, off-the-book wire transfers, foreign accounts. "This isn't just a toxic workplace," he whispered. "This is a federal crime scene." Jamal stepped forward. "What does this mean?" The lawyer looked at Cassandra. "It means, if you expose him now, you may take the company down with him. And everyone here, including the employees you're trying to protect, could lose everything." Cassandra stood frozen. She could burn Martin down, but would it also destroy the people she came to save? And just then, her phone buzzed again. A new message. No number. Just a photo of Jamal, outside their home, alone. Caption: "Make your move," and he disappears. It was the kind of threat you don't ignore. A grainy photo of Jamal standing outside their home, alone, vulnerable, captioned with just 6 chilling words. "Make your move," and he disappears. Cassandra stared at the screen, her heart pounding so loud it drowned out the boardroom noise. The same boardroom where she had just cornered Martin Dempsey with damning evidence. She was seconds away from ending his reign. But now, he'd made it personal. "Call security," one board member whispered. "No," Cassandra said sharply, voice trembling but fierce. "That's what he wants." Martin sat calmly across the table, smug and unbothered, as if he hadn't just threatened her son. "You were always ambitious, Cassandra," he said, leaning back. "But you don't understand the rules of this game." She clenched her jaw. Then maybe it's time to change the game. But in that moment, she made the hardest decision of her life. She closed the folder, paused the video, and sat down. Everyone in the room looked confused, Jamal most of all. But Cassandra just said one thing: "The meeting's over. For now." Within minutes, Cassandra and Jamal were in the back seat of a black SUV, her longtime driver Carlos taking side streets to avoid being followed. "Why did you stop?" Jamal asked, voice strained with confusion and anger. "Because he's dangerous," Cassandra replied. "And I will not lose you over a press conference." Jamal leaned back, fists clenched. He had seen injustice before. He had felt it. But this was power wielded like a weapon, with no rules, no limits. "So he gets away with it?" Jamal whispered. Cassandra shook her head slowly. "Not forever. Just not today." That night, they didn't go home. They went to Cassandra's childhood church in the south side of Chicago. The sanctuary was quiet, candlelit, empty except for the pastor. Reverend Calvin had baptized Cassandra when she was 6. Now, he opened the doors without a word. They sat in the pews, silent, until Cassandra broke. Tears ran down her face as she whispered, "How do you fight someone who doesn't care who they hurt?" Reverend Calvin placed a hand on her shoulder. "By remembering why you fight. Not just for justice, but for those still standing in line behind you." Later that night, Jamal opened his laptop and dug deeper into the files Danielle had given them. Buried in a zip folder labeled Archive M was something no one had seen before. A 14-minute voice memo, time-stamped during the month Danielle was forced out. He clicked play. Martin's voice came through clearly. "We don't hire them to stay. We hire them to check boxes. Let them file papers, smile in photos. But the minute they think they belong, we remind them." Jamal froze. This wasn't just corporate cruelty. It was premeditated racism, and he had the proof. But as he copied the file to the cloud, a warning popped up. "Access revoked. User locked." Then the screen went black. His entire system wiped. The next morning, Cassandra got a call from Danielle. Her voice was shaking. "It's out. Someone leaked it." "The memo?" Cassandra asked. "No, your bank records." Cassandra opened her inbox. Dozens of news alerts, headlines screaming. "Mysterious investor has offshore accounts." "Black woman's wealth under federal review." "Power grab or backdoor corruption." Martin had struck first. "He's framing me," Cassandra muttered, her voice cracking. Danielle's voice trembled. "You need to go on camera. Tell your side before it's too late." But just then, Jamal walked in. He was pale, shaken, holding his phone like a loaded gun. "Mom," he said softly, "there's something you need to see." He turned the screen to her. It was a live stream, posted on a private page, unlisted, from inside the company's HR office. On it, Martin was standing with a woman, young, black, crying. Jamal's voice cracked. "That's Amber, the receptionist." Martin stood over her, cold and calculated. "Think carefully. You want to keep this job? Then delete that statement, or you'll be packing your desk by noon." Cassandra covered her mouth. It was happening again. Another life being broken. Another voice being silenced. But this time, it wasn't just about Jamal. It wasn't just about Danielle. It wasn't even about her. This was about every black employee who had been told they didn't fit in. Every young intern passed over. Every single mother fired after asking for flexibility. Every brilliant applicant never given a fair interview. This wasn't a company. It was a system. And now, Cassandra had a choice. Burn it all down, or build something new in its place. But before she could say a word, her phone buzzed again. A new text. No name. "You want justice? Come alone." Attached was a location, and a video clip of Amber, in tears, bound to a chair, inside the company break room. The address was in an industrial part of the city, an old warehouse near the river that hadn't seen activity in years. The air was thick with cold mist, the kind that makes your skin crawl before you even walk through the door. Cassandra stood in the shadows outside the entrance, her heart pounding in her chest. She wasn't a stranger to confrontation. But this was different. This wasn't a boardroom or courtroom. This was war. Jamal had begged her not to go. Danielle even offered to call in a favor from an investigative journalist she knew. But Cassandra said no. "If I involve the media now, he'll hurt that girl. I need to see what I'm dealing with. Alone." She handed Jamal an envelope. "If I don't call you in 1 hour, take this straight to the press. It has everything. The memo, Martin's threats, and the contracts I found linking him to that fake recruitment agency he used to weed out black applicants." Jamal's voice cracked. "Mom, don't do this." She hugged him hard. Sometimes you have to walk through the fire to make sure no one else burns. Inside the warehouse, The flickering light bulbs buzzed like flies. Metal shelves cast long shadows across the cracked concrete floor. Amber was there, alive, but visibly shaken, her wrists loosely zip-tied to a chair. Martin stood beside her, arms folded, that smug expression etched across his face. "You just don't know when to quit, do you?" he said. "You really think this is about me?" Cassandra replied, "You're burning your own house down, Martin." He laughed, cold and bitter. "I built this house. I can burn it if I want." She took a slow step forward. "No, you inherited it. And now you're terrified the help is moving into the master bedroom." That did it. His smile cracked. He stormed toward her, jabbing a finger in her face. "You think you're better than me? You think money makes you one of them now? You'll never be one of us." "You're right," Cassandra said, voice calm. "And I don't want to be." Martin reached for something in his coat pocket. Cassandra froze. Was it a weapon? A phone? Another threat? But before he could pull it out, a loud clang echoed through the warehouse. Jamal had slipped in from the back. Phone camera rolling, broadcasting everything live to Cassandra's private channel with thousands of subscribers. Employees, friends, allies watching in real time. Martin froze. "You're streaming this?" "Oh yeah," Jamal said, stepping closer. "Hope your PR team's ready." Martin's hand dropped from his coat. His face flushed a dangerous shade of red. "You think this'll take me down? I own this company." Cassandra stepped beside Jamal. "Not anymore." She opened her briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. "Deeds, contracts, buyout letters. I finalized the purchase this morning. The board voted to dissolve your stake. As of an hour ago, you're out. I'm the majority shareholder now." For the first time, Martin Dempsey looked small. Not furious, not dangerous, just defeated. Amber cried as Jamal freed her. Cassandra walked toward the warehouse exit, motioning for security to come inside. Martin tried to follow. "You can't do this." Cassandra stopped at the door, turned. "You fired my son because he didn't fit in. Now it's your turn." Two officers stepped in behind her. "You're under investigation for harassment, racial discrimination, and unlawful threats against multiple employees. You'll be escorted off the property." Martin was still yelling when they took him out in cuffs. Amber collapsed into Jamal's arms. But Cassandra? She didn't cheer. She didn't smile. She just stood still. Because she knew this wasn't the end. That night, Danielle showed up at Cassandra's door. "You did it," she said. "We did," Cassandra replied. But Danielle looked troubled. "I need to show you something." She opened her laptop, pulled up a file labeled Legacy Plan. Martin wasn't working alone. He had backup, people in finance, HR, even external auditors. And it's deeper than we thought. She tapped on one name. Cassandra's breath caught. "No, that can't be." Danielle nodded. "She's been feeding information to Martin for years. She's the reason your early deals kept falling through." "But she's family," Cassandra whispered. "I know." In Cassandra's hands was a photo. A smiling woman at a family cookout. The one person she trusted to handle her finances since her husband passed. Her own sister. "She sold you out," Danielle said quietly. "For a seat at the table." Tears welled in Cassandra's eyes, but her jaw locked with determination. "Then it's time to flip the table over." Before the betrayal, before the boardrooms and corporate warfare, there was a little kitchen on the south side of Chicago. Cassandra and her younger sister, Rochelle, used to sit at that chipped formica table, sharing frozen pizza, braiding each other's hair, and dreaming of a better life. Back then, they didn't have much. Just each other. And that used to be enough. Cassandra stood at the edge of her office window, gazing down at the city skyline. In her hand, the financial statements Danielle had uncovered. Hidden transactions. Insider leaks. All traced back to one name. Rochelle Bennett. Her baby sister. The woman she gave a job. Trusted with her books. Leaned on through grief after her husband died. And now she was the one who tried to burn it all down from the inside. There was a knock at the door. "Come in." Rochelle entered, her face a careful mask of poise, but her eyes, those eyes betrayed fear. "You wanted to see me?" Cassandra turned, holding nothing back. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" Rochelle's face paled. She didn't deny it. "I did what I had to do," she said quietly. "No," Cassandra replied. "You did what you chose to do. You think this world makes room for people like us without blood on the floor? Martin promised me a way out. I was tired of scraping, tired of surviving." Cassandra's voice broke. "So you sold out your family?" "You left me behind," Rochelle snapped. "When you got out, you left me behind. You built your empire while I was still clawing my way through overdrafts." Silence. The weight of years. Of pain. Of resentment neither of them had ever dared speak aloud. "I never left you behind," Cassandra said. "I reached for you. I gave you everything I had. You didn't have to burn it down. You could have built with me." Rochelle looked away, tears brimming but refusing to fall. Cassandra opened a drawer and placed 2 envelopes on the desk. One with Rochelle's name, one without. "This is what's going to happen. You're resigning. Quietly. I'm not pressing charges. But you'll never hold a financial role again." Rochelle's lips trembled. She nodded. "And the other envelope?" she asked. Cassandra looked her dead in the eye. "That's your severance. It's enough to start fresh. But you better make it count." "Why are you being merciful?" Rochelle whispered. "After what I did." Cassandra exhaled slowly. "Because if I let what you did turn me into someone like you, then Martin wins. And I refuse to lose to hate." Jamal stood in the lobby as Rochelle walked out of the building for the last time. She didn't say a word, didn't meet his eyes, just walked. But even as the elevator doors closed behind her, a strange peace settled over Cassandra. Justice had been served, not through revenge, but through restoration. Because sometimes, the strongest power isn't in what you take away, it's in what you choose to give back. A week later, Cassandra stood before her entire company. Every floor had stopped work. Every eye was on her. She stepped up to the mic, not as an executive, not as a figurehead, but as a woman who had walked through fire and came out carrying water for those still burning. "We are not just a company," she said. "We are a family. And families don't always get it right. Sometimes they hurt. Sometimes they break. But they heal. We will not tolerate racism, sabotage, or silence. Not here. Not ever again." The room erupted into applause. Tears streamed down Danielle's face. Jamal stood near the back, hand over his heart. This was no longer a workplace. It was a movement. Later that night, Cassandra sat on the rooftop with Jamal. The city lights shimmered below. "You know," he said, "I always thought fitting in was the goal." She smiled softly. "Fitting in is overrated," she said. "Standing out, that's where the power is. But standing tall, that's where the change happens." She turned to him, her voice quiet but fierce. "Never let anyone make you shrink to make them feel big. You're not too loud. You're not too ambitious. You're not too anything. You're enough. More than enough." The wind stirred, cool against their skin. Jamal looked up at the stars. And in that moment, both of them knew. This wasn't just the end of a battle. It was the beginning of a legacy, life lesson. Sometimes the greatest revenge is choosing to lead with grace when the world expects you to break. Keep standing, keep rising, and never let the system tell you where you belong. Subscribe to hear more stories where the underdog doesn't just survive, they own the room. Let us know where you are watching from in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, like and turn on your notification bell so that you can be the first to enjoy our amazing stories.